Hello everyone. So welcome to the second session in our international affairs or our monthly current affairs series of Amrita IS. And in this session, we'll talk about some India specific foreign affairs. In the first session, in the part one, we have talked about some country specific news where we talked about Sudan and Israel getting together or setting the wars aside, signing a peace treaty. Then in the second part, that is institutions, we talked about UNHRC and OHCR and a lot of things. Today we'll talk about the India and specific to India, we'll talk about India and Central Asia relationship in nutshell. We'll talk about India USA, and within India USA two planks of the relationship. That is first, that is the defense relationship, because in the October month very important 2+2 meeting has happened, and also about the Quad. So that's all for the discussion for today. Chal. First, starting with the India and Central Asia. Now, Central Asia's location is very good, right? Central Asia combines of these five countries: Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. One thing that you have to do on your own end: identify the capital of each and every Central Asian country. Make a mnemonic so as to remember that particular country and its capital. It's relatively tricky because to remember each and every country's capital. For example, let me give you one example. For example, the capital of Tajikistan is Dushanbe, right? So, how I remembered it? For example, Tajikistan is the only country where we have an air base, you know, India. So our air base will be against the country which will be our Hindi in it they call Dushman, the enemy. So from Dushman it becomes Dushanbe. So in that regard, you need to make some mnemonics to remember such capitals. Okay. Now that's the idea first of all. So these are the five countries. If you look at geopolitically, first let us geoeconomically, what are the significance of these countries? This is India and these are these countries. Geo-economically, these are very, very important countries because you can see these countries are very rich in oil and gas. For example, Turkmenistan, very rich in gas. That is a Tapi pipeline that you must have heard of. Tapi pipeline, TAPI. Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. That is a pipeline. If India wants to become a gas based economy, then the oil pipeline or gas pipeline can be very crucial. First, then if you talk about the geo-economic, more geo-economic, other countries, for example, your Kazakhstan is very wealthy with respect to your uranium reservoirs. Tajikistan is very much get a lot of hydropower is there. In the Kyrgyzstan, a lot of agriculturally it is very vibrant, that country. So and every country has its own specific thing which has the geo-economic potential for India. First thing, if we talk about the geopolitical significance of this region, it's just a prelims based discussion, so that's why if you talk about the geopolitical significance, so geopolitical significance is basically because such countries are part of the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, right? These countries are engaging with India. As for example, today we'll read India Central Asia Dialogue, right? These are geopolitical, and now geostrategically these things are important. Why? Very importantly, Afghanistan is there. To have peace in Afghanistan, Central Asia plays a very important role because this is a very, you can say, very near to, adjacent, and very in a proximity with Afghanistan, along with the cooperation of the other countries. So the peace process in Afghanistan, Central Asia has a very important stakes. Secondly, the Central Asia is also the region where it is a terror infested or insurgency infested region is there geostrategically. Next, you can see the location of Central Asia. Here it's Russia, here it is China, here it's Iran. So very key countries are bordering the Central Asia. Very, very key countries. Australia consider, Russia consider it as its strategic backyard because earlier these countries were part of what? USSR. So Russia consider that these are our strategic backyard. China wants to include its footprints into the Central Asia through BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. So this is why Central Asia is a very key puzzle in the geopolitics or geostrategic realm of this particular region. Overall, USA also wants to build its strength in Central Asia on the back of, because it is such an important place for Russia and China. So from that perspective, Central Asia is a very, very important thing. So this is how we have discussed the significance of it. Let us very quickly understand it. So India, Central Asia. Central Asia has always been a part of the Great Game. What is the Great Game? Let us very quickly identify. So this was the British Empire, right? We go into the back in the times of the pre-independence. This was the British India or the British Empire. Here it is the Russian threat. So British India was always threatened by this area. If you have read India's Anglo-Sikh wars, or if you have read Anglo-Punjab wars, these were majorly driven by the concerns of the Russian invasion from the through the Central Asian coming to India. So they try to defend it or keep it as a buffer state. So Central Asia in between, which is there, it has always been a part of the Great War, Great Game, I should say. And that is why the current modern dynamic, it is known as the new Great Game. Why? We have discussed China Far West strategy. Far West means from China West going west. China policy, Belt and Road, and resource greedy. We have discussed how the Central Asian countries are, how they are very resource intensive that are there. Russia, we have discussed that it is a strategic backyard for Russia. It is its tickets to resurgence. Russia wants to resurge itself because of the lost glory after the 1991. Before 1991, it was a superpower. Now it wants to resurge itself. Then USA, Greater Middle East. USA's vision of Greater Middle East, because Middle East may it's having a good footage. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait with USA has a good relationship. So USA wants to have the same sway and the same influence in the region as well, and also influence in the Afghan peace process. With respect to India, Central Asia is an extended neighborhood. India has a 2012 policy, that is Connect Central Asia policy. India looks to be a balancer or a developmental partner in the region. What is the balancer? From Central Asia perspective, they are being influenced by Russia, China, and USA. In this context, India comes out as a balancer for Central Asia region. India, who does not involve a lot into the technicalities or the strategic things of it, but more focuses on the development of the region, development of the soft skill. So this is what Central Asia is. Central Asia wants the investment in IT, education, resource infrastructure, and want the dilution of the China and Russia duopoly. This is overall context in which we are discussing the current affair. Very quickly, let us summarize. India, Central Asia, old historical ties were there, geographical proximity, Silk Route, and everything. Then Anglo-Russian Great Game, as we have discussed. Cold War period. Cold War period, what happened? Because it was in the USSR, so it was Russian centered. So we developed very good cultural relation with the region. Post Cold War, USSR declined. New nation states have become, and India was very first to develop the diplomatic relationships with such countries. Then in 2012, then there is a big lag in which we have not paid a lot of attention to Central Asia. That is one of the problem areas also. And then in 2012, we got a Central Asia policy. But again, secondary lag you can see here. After 7 years were spent to develop first India Central Asia dialogue in January 2019. So this is overarching journey between India and the Central Asia. Now, they have what's in the news, because in October 2020 they have the second India Central Asia dialogue. First India Central Asia dialogue happened in January 19. It's a ministerial level dialogue that happens, and India is having dialogue with these countries, 5 countries, as we have discussed. Some key points that were discussed in this particular dialogue, that is combating the terrorism, Afghan peace process, infrastructure and initiatives. Combating terrorism, that is combat by destroying terrorist safe havens, network infrastructure. Each country has promised that their territory will not be used for the terrorist purpose. So each is a responsibility of the each state, so that their territory should not be used for the terrorist thing. Afghan peace process, that should be Afghan led, Afghan gold, and Afghan control. That is the commitment of India, and Central Asian countries agree to it. Chabar port development, quick development of Chabar port. Initiatives, that is $1 billion line of credit, infrastructure and connectivity. 1 billion line of credit means we are not giving them money, we'll give them loans at relatively lesser rate of interest. Then finance some high impact community development project, that is the projects that are impacting the communities directly. That is, India is working especially with the Central Asian, especially with Africa, making working groups such as FICCI, improving the business and all these things. So let us quickly summarize. That is the second meeting of the India Central Asia meeting, second meeting. First meeting held in January 2019 in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. Second meeting happened in India. It's a platform for strengthening the cooperation between India and Central Asia countries in the political, security, economic, and commercial sphere. India hosts the dialogue with the 5 Central Asian countries. It was held not in the COVID time. It held during the digital video conferencing, not in India. Next one, related institution, that is India Central Asia Business Council. So in 2020 they have established this, not a very important as compared to the last one. Last one is very important. So it's a Ministry of External Affairs has recently launched this India Central Asia Business Council. So 5 countries and will act as a platform for the businesses of the India and Central Asia. So that's what India and Central Asia discussion is. Now let's come to India and USA relationship. In October month, they have done 2 things. That is the BECA was signed, the last of the foundational agreements, BECA, in the 2+2 meeting, right? And 1 Quad meeting also held. Chalo. Let us quickly summarize, or let us first talk about the changes that have happened. If you're not a UPSC aspirant, or if you don't follow a lot of politics, you don't even remember that BECA has been signed and there was no media reports, very little media reports, very little uproar, no opposition parliament, no opposition, nothing. No opposition, no political parties saying, "Arey ye kyun kar diya? Why you have done this?" Nothing. Now let's go back to old times, 1991. It was only a case of the refueling of a US aircraft in Indian soil. And there was an uproar in the parliament. And the prime minister has to resend the request second time. No, we will not allow it. Only it's about a US plane getting a refuel in India and again taking off. Imagine how much we have matured, our relationship. Over the period of 30 years, how much it has matured. We have signed one of the foundational agreements, that is BECA, with the USA. Right? And there was no uproar. That goes to show the maturity of the relationship, that we have become very important partners in the development and the strategic cooperation. So let it very quickly. So until 1960, there was a conflict and cooperation. Then in 70s and 80s, there was a strategic conflict. You can read downloading the PDF. That means the USA helped Pakistan, or wanted to help Pakistan in 1971 war. India had a pro-US, pre-USSR tilt. Plus, India had the nuclear device. India refused to sign this non-proliferation treaty. Then in 1990s, when USSR collapsed, India started to have strategic convergences or emerging convergences with the USA. India signed the diplomatic relationship with Israel. In the last lecture also, we talked about how Israel and USA are very close, and India having a diplomatic relation with Israel is very critical, very important. Then Bill Clinton came to India, and 2006, very important civil nuclear cooperation agreement was signed. Then institutionalization of convergence, that is the next stage. That is the first strategic dialogue happened. These defense agreement are being signed in 2016. The USA has made India as the major defense partner. So these are the important evolution in the India-USA relationship. If you talk about 2+2 mechanism, very quickly, it's a third meeting of 2+2. So it's a decoupling of the strategic and the other. What does it mean? It means that whatever is happening in India and USA trade relationship, they should not have impact over the defense and the foreign relationship. The problems are here. Yes, we agree. WTO mein problem hai. WTO mein there is a problem. There are problem in other areas. But those problems should not have an spillover effect on the defense relationship and strategic relationship. Let them go parallelly. So first of all, it's a decoupling of strategic and the other. Next, institutionalization of the process, that is moving from the personal chemistry to an institutional setup. That means the not only graduating from bilateral dynamic away from the over dependence on the chemistry between the top leadership, but also design frameworks in a manner that maximizes convergence. That means, let's say today Modi is here, and then let's say Trump was there. But now Trump is no more, right? No more in the sense, no more the president. Now you should not be over dependent on the Trump and the Modi's chemistry. Rather, it should be an institutional thing. It will happen every year, irrespective whether it's a Trump, whether Modi, whether Rahul, whether someone, doesn't matter. So it should be between the states, not between the leaders. It will precipitate from the leaders itself. It will start because of the good chemistry between the leaders, but it should not be confined to that. ठीक है, तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया है. दिस अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया. Highest level institutional mechanism, and then focus and follow up can happen because we are doing it every year. So India to hold to third 2+2 meeting in New Delhi next week. You can see October 2020. Okay. So very quickly, let's summarize. India USA held third 22+2 ministerial meeting. A 2+2 dialogue is a term used for installation of the dialogue mechanism between two countries, defense and external affair ministry. 2+2 dialogue India also have with the now at the ministerial level with Japan and Australia. Some key agreements that we know have been signed: agreement on the technical cooperation, agreement on the postal, and the most importantly, the BECA, which is signed. That brings me to the important plank of the India-USA relationship, that is the defense relationship. In 2005, framework for defense relationship was done. In 2013, a joint declaration was done. And in 2016, they have become a major defense partner. A Strategic Trade Authorization Act has been passed, major non-NATO ally. So India has become the major non-NATO ally. So that the export of the sensitive defense item can be done to the India. Then the 4 agreement which was signed, we'll discuss about 4 agreements. Defense equipment can be sent, Predator drones, Seahawk and all, helicopters. Some exercises that we do, that is Tiger Trump, Yudh Abhyas and Malabar. So this is the defense relationship between India and the USA. These are the 4 foundational agreements. One agreement we have signed in 2002, then in 2016 LAMOA, then COMCASA, and finally BECA in 2020. Okay? So these are the 4 foundational agreements. More importantly, these 3 are very strategic in nature. Okay? In the first one, that is, first let's talk about BECA. BECA, that's a current affair signed in the recent 2+2 meeting. So India and the United States signed the Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement. It will help India get the real-time access to the American geospatial intelligence that will enhance the accuracy of the automated system and the weapon like missile and the armed drones. So BECA means Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement. The idea is very easy. That is having some classified, more classified information, intelligence, and improving the missile systems of India as well. Missiles and armed drone of India, so that they can attack with more precision when they have the more cutting edge information coming from the United States. Okay. Through the sharing of the information of the maps and satellite images, it will help India access the topographical and aeronautical data. It will help in navigation and targeting. So BECA, along with the LAMOA and COMCASA, completes the trico of the foundational pact for the deep military cooperation between the 2 countries. Next is the JSOMIA. So facilitates the opportunity for great intelligence sharing between the India and the USA. Recently, Indian Industrial Security Annex to JSMOA was concluded between both the countries. So under this first agreement, which was done, they have decided that we will create this Industrial Security Annex. So remember that it was decided under the first act. So what is this ISA? We'll discuss. So ISA is basically, it's also here, it's a framework for exchange and the protection of classified military information between India and the defense industries. So basically the idea is that the Indian and the USA's defense industries will come together and will work together, something like that. So greater role in the defense manufacturing. Indian industry looks for a greater role in the defense manufacturing. So ISA, very importantly, remember ISA is a part of the JSMOA. So this is important fact with respect to prelims. Okay. Then in the 2016, they signed this LAMOA, that is Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. From the name itself, it's a logistic thing. So it will provide access to both countries to designate military facilities on either side of the purse for refueling and replenishment, so that they can do this refueling and replenishment. For example, India is in the USA, so Indian aircrafts, they can down there, they can get refueled. Similarly, US aircraft, especially they require in India because they have a big presence in Indo-Pacific and all, and ideally East Indo-Pacific, ASEAN, and later on. so that they can come together and they do the refueling and replenishment. Humanitarian assistance, disaster relief. Remember, there is no talk of the military base in India. That's not there. USA cannot set up a military base in India, but they can do the refueling and all these things. Any other requirement has to be agreed upon both the sides on a case-to-case basis. There will be no leasing, basing of the USA troops or asset on the Indian soil. That's a very important idea. Next one, that is the last one, Becca, we have already discussed. That is Comcasa. So it is an India-specific version. That is also a good significance of India because India negotiated the SISMOA version. So SISMOA is the journal agreement that USA signs with everyone. But India-specific version is known as the Comcasa. So it allows both the sides to operate on the, from the name, communication, compatibility, and security agreement. So same communication satellite, making an interoperable environment for the militaries. So देखो, what you need to remember, every agreement, some basic 2 to 3 keywords, that's all. Just to know to differentiate between one act and the one agreement with the other. It will allow India to procure, transfer specialized equipment for encrypted communication for military platforms. So this is what you can download, and I have summarized everything into 4 lines. So GISMOA, sharing classified information. Logistics, that is logistic infrastructure. Comcasa, that is Indian version of SISMOA, secure communication. And the last is the sharing of a very sensitive data, for especially for navigation and targeting capability. So directly missiles directly working at that level. And obviously every agreement feeds into the other. Hai na? For example, BECA is the one of the highest level of cooperation that can be done. The last discussion, that is Indo-Pacific and Quad. Let us very quickly discuss. So what is Quad? Quad is basically a coming together of 4 people in an informal setting. Now this idea is not new. The idea is old. From 2007, first mooted by the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Right? So it's an informal strategic forum among the like-minded democracies along the Indian and the Pacific Ocean. It comprises of 4 countries, that is India, USA, Japan, and Australia. Now think yourself why these countries have come together. हर दिन article इसी पे आता है. Every day articles comes on this only. So why they've come together? These are democracies. They want to establish rule of law. They are working. Obviously, the elephant in the room is China. China is expanding aggressive maneuvers, whether it's India, whether it is Japan, whether it is Australia. Things are not fine. China, whether it be the call for an international investigation which rattled China, or whether it be the Chinese aggressive footprints in the South China Sea and other things. That has brought these countries together. So the idea is very old, but from 2016 onward, the idea is gaining ground. Why? Because of the China's aggressive expansion. China's rise is no more peaceful, isn't it? So it's creating a lot of not peace in the other countries. So after 2007, 4 countries came together. It did not take off initially, but after a number of reasons revived in 2017, emerged as a platform for diplomatic consultation and the coordination and participation among the countries, advancing the security and the economic interests of all countries having legitimate and the vital interests. Now let me also first discuss with you what is the difference between the Indo-Pacific and the Quad. I ask my student in my classes that tell me the difference between Indo-Pacific and Quad. Sometimes they are not able to differentiate. Indo-Pacific is nothing but basically a geographical region which is gaining the political interest, geopolitical interest now as a region. So 21st century is local of the political and security concerns, competition of growth and development, and of technology incubation, innovation. That is the Indo-Pacific. So it's a geographical region which is gaining the more political, economic, and strategic relevance. Now Quad is what? Quad is basically a tool, right? It is need to view Indo-Pacific as a strategic continuum. So Quad is basically the idea, or Quad is the vehicle or means to convert this Indo-Pacific from a geographical thing to such thing that we are discussing, to such economic and political important things. So that's the idea. So you can see Indian Ocean with respect to India, Asia Pacific coming together. That is the Indo-Pacific. Then Indo-Pacific running by Quad, increasing Chinese assertivism and territorial revisionism. Quad is getting traction. Now they're talking about to make Quad plus, but it is still at an idea level. not developed full till now. That till now we need to focus on Quad Plus, that focuses on the economic prosperity, and the second part is Quad 2+2, that focuses on the strategic part of it. So this is in future. That is the idea of the Quad in the future. Recently, one tweet from Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. He has sir keeps a lot of discussion with for Amrita IAS Academy students on our Telegram channel. Periodically, sir has a lot of sessions and the videos are also uploaded. I'll recommend you, if you're interested in IR or you have a PSIR optional, go to the Amrita IAS channel and find some videos of Vishnu Prakash sir. I have been privileged to attend one of the discussions in person, and some very good insights sir has given. For example, his tweet on 18 Feb. Kuwait finally enters into the MEA work. It's the first ministerial in the north in New York, first ministerial in New York in September 2019. Not even a press release issue. Second round in Tokyo, that is in October. This is the meeting that we are discussing, October 2020. Termed as India, Australia, Japan, USA ministerial meeting. And today round called the third India, Australia, Japan, USA Quad ministerial meeting. So now the Quad term has been used by the Ministry of External Affairs. Earlier, Ministry of External Affairs was also thinking that we should not use such terms because that can say that it is against China. Though obviously formally they are not saying so. There's a good statement of the Mr. Jaishankar, our foreign minister, who says that Indo-Pacific is for something. It is not against someone. For something means it is for the inclusiveness, it is for prosperity, it is for openness. It is not against a particular country. So that is what Quad, according to our external affairs minister, is. So with this, we finish our session. Oh, just one more thing is left, and that is JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, that is there. It's in the news because India receives around some money to fight against the COVID fight. So this is a government agency that basically works for the official development assistance for the government of the Japan. India has been one of the countries which has received a lot and lots of the official development assistance from Japan. In fact, one of the highest getting from Japan. It is started with assisting economic and social growth with developing countries and promotion of the international cooperations. So this is what they want to do. It's the presentation being presented by JICA only with respect to India. So helping in urbanization, industrial development, rural growth, agenda, regional cooperation, and all this. Major projects which are there in Japan. Major projects. First is the Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor, Chennai Bangalore Industrial Corridor. They are helping with the high speed train, then the development of the northeast is also there. Apart from that, other things are also there. So you can see long term vision kya hai? The cooperation towards the realization of faster, more inclusive and sustainable growth based upon the shared value between Japan and India. And priority area, enhancing connectivity, strengthening industry competitiveness, and supporting the sustainable and the inclusive growth. So nothing to remember as such, but you need to remember, you need to know that what are the Japanese projects in India. Take care. So with this, we finish today's session. We are done with the international affairs. Next session I'll take up, that is defense. It's a very small session, so I'll take up that session next. So defense I'll cover, and then we'll move on to the next part, that is economy or art and culture. We'll see. Very quickly we'll finish the October month as well, and very quickly we'll move to the November month also. Till then, bye bye. Thank you everyone.